Namaskar, good evening. You're watching Breaking Ground and I'm Swati Joshi. There is something very dirty in his mind. This is what the apex court of the country said about the incestuous question Ranveer Allahbadia asked a contestant in comedian Samay Raina's show India's Got Latent. A Supreme Court bench was hearing Ranveer Allahbadia's plea to club FIRs against him and seek anticipatory bail against possible arrest by the Guwahati police. YouTuber Ranveer Allahbadia has got some relief as the Supreme Court ordered that no further police case should be filed against him. In this case, that does not mean Ranveer's legal troubles are over. Let's open this up. Let's go across to our guests. We're joined by Sanjana Galrani, actress. We have Aditya Pratap, an advocate. Barkha Trehan, activist, joins us on the broadcast. I'm given to understand she'll be joining us anytime now. And we also have Advocate Parvez Memon, Senior Partner, MGM Legal, LLP. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me first, in fact, go across to Advocate Parvez Memon. Is this also a rap on the knuckle of all those part of the ecosystem who were backing Ranveer Allahbadia? Mr. Memon?
Well, Swati, firstly, we need to understand that here we are discussing two issues. One is a legal issue and the other, to my mind, is a moral issue. The Honorable Supreme Court, in its wisdom, felt it necessary to admonish Ranveer for his distasteful and disgusting utterances, to be mindful of his speech. That comes through the moral responsibility of the apex court. However, when you examine the legality of the subject matter, the Supreme Court has not ruled that whatever he uttered falls within the definition of obscenity. That issue will have to be determined by judicial parameters as laid by the Supreme Court itself in its previous precedents. So there is a very thin line between obscenity and profanity. You see, the Supreme Court has ruled in various judgments in the past, be it the Apurva Arora case or be it the Avik Sarkar case or the college romance case. The Supreme Court has ruled that there is a thin line between obscenity and language which is foul, indecent and profane. Rule is obscenity relates to material that arouses sexual and lustful thoughts, which is not at all the effect of abusive language. So all said and done, howsoever distasteful and disgusting the utterances of Ranveer may be, I am not to advocate his cause. I am not at all saying that what he said was not wrong or immoral. But the fact is whether it is obscene within the definitions.
You know, I'm sure you'll say this is just an observation of the Supreme Court, but the court did ask, if this is not obscenity in this country, then what is?
So that has to be tested on the parameters as laid by the Supreme Court itself in its previous precedents. That will be tested, of course, but as the Supreme Court has, on the other hand, granted him relief from arrest and from further FIRs from all the states, from being protected from persecution, is in itself a relief for Ranveer at this stage.
The fact that he'll not be arrested, but he'll have to cooperate in the probe, Sanjana Galrani, says Mr. Memon, is in its own way a big relief coming in from Ranveer Allahbadia.
Can I come in?
Yes, absolutely. That question is for you.
So, actually, I'm in a way happy that, the matter has reached all the way to Supreme Court, because something like this, whenever it happens, people talk about it for 2 days and forget about it, and there's no probe which is taken against it. And my only worry was what has happened is done and dusted. But because of a big influencer like this, many other micro and macro influencers get influenced, and today's date, we are in a phase and time where for the sake of views, millions of views, people are doing anything or everything. Like we look at even women stripping just for the sake of views, just on Instagram Reels. They're not even paid to do it, but all they want to do is they want to be viral. They want to be a viral sensation. And I'm very against the format of this particular show, India's Got Latent or whatever it is called, because iska format hi hai कि you talk very dirty and you become very viral. So there's no boundary to it, and they're talking dirty very intentionally, very diligently, very sensibly, very much in their senses, very well planned manner. They are talking this dirty kind of jokes are spread. So I'm not even against dirty jokes. I'm not against vulgar jokes, but somewhere they need to draw a line. How can you talk about the S life? I'm using code word because of national channel. S life of your parents, and that you as a daughter or a son are going and involving in the threesome in the S life of your parents.
I get your point. So you're saying the larger issue here is that of morality. I want to bring in Barkha as well, but who's going to draw that line? The Supreme Court, through its scathing observation, yes, it has given relief to Ranveer Allahbadia, but in the scathing observations has made it absolutely clear that this language is unacceptable. This is a pervert type of a language. Another scathing observation in which the court said there's something dirty going on in his mind. The larger issue here is of morality, isn't it? The court also pointing out just because you're popular does not mean you can say anything that comes to your mind.
Exactly. I condemn what Ranveer said. But again, justice must be served, but it should be served through courts, not social media. See, let the trial go on in court. What Ranveer has said, he has already apologized for it. What do we want? Should he suicide? What exactly do we want? Whenever we do something wrong, you and me, all are human beings. Tell me, why are we so much exaggerating this?
No, it's not. No, one second. Nobody wants him to commit suicide, and no such ideas should be entertained as well. And the threats that are being issued to him also are condemnable. They are also condemnable. But like I said, you know what the court said is very important. See, he has an influence and a hold over millions of people who follow him.
See, what happens is, I got that point. Yes. I got that point. But is it right for us? For anyone to give threats to the family?
Absolutely not. That's what I said. That's condemnable.
Let the court decide, na. Nothing. Yes, and let the court decide and let him live his life. He has made a mistake and he has realized it. Now let the courts decide for him what has to be done, what not. The punishment will come through the court. Let's not further discuss this. Let him and the court decide whatever next has to be done.
You know, these discussions, you cannot put an end to the discussions. You cannot put an end to the discussions.
No more threats.
It's because he is a public figure, he is a popular personality, his podcasts and his events and his shows are followed by millions of people who hear him, who follow him. And that's exactly what the court was also trying to point out, that he's a popular personality. He should have behaved in a responsible manner. It's total lack of responsibility. And imagine the kind of impact that's going to, have on impressionable young minds. Sanjana Galrani also wants to come in. Go ahead.
This is a deliberate action. ये जानबूझ के किया गया है. India's got Latent ऐसा कोई show नहीं है जिसमें बैठ के संस्कार या परंपरा सिखाते हैं. India's got Latent is not a show where they sit and share you values of life and teach you how to, respect anyone or everyone or the environment. That is something I would really like to say. And at the same time, definitely, I think I'm very happy that this has reached the Supreme Court and this should not be very easily let gone because we need to nail an example just so that...
But Sanjana, this is not the only show and he is not the only individual who said something, who has said something like this. Who has said something like this. Let me bring in Aditya Pratap. So where do you draw the line and who's going to draw that line? Because Ranveer Allahbadia is not the only individual and India's Got Latent is not the only show where, you have witnessed such obscene comments being made or such comments that fall in the bracket of vulgar and obscene and have offended a lot of people.
See, first and foremost, let me make a very opening statement. In Indian law, there is no concept of negative inequality. In short, if Ranveer Allahbadia gets caught for his crimes and 1,000 other people don't get caught for their crimes, Ranveer Allahbadia cannot tell the law enforcement police that no, you first arrest the other 1,000 people, then you arrest me. This does not happen in our criminal justice system. Number two, Ranveer Allahbadia is a very popular person. He is among India's most well-known YouTubers. There is an extra obligation, a moral obligation on him because the entire country, an entire generation looks up to him. He should be a person of high moral
Aditya Pratap, the argument is that he has already apologized for it. So what more do you want from him? That's what Barkha Trehan is saying. That's her point.
What else do you want him to do?
No, what apologize? In fact, an apology means you're admitting the crime. In Indian criminal justice, there is no concept of apology. Apology means you admit the crime, now you face the punishment. In fact, such people, I believe they have crocodile tears.
I would like to...
Okay, Barkha Trehan wants to come in. Aditya Pratap, 1 second. Ms. Trehan wants to come in. Go ahead.
Yeah. See, just now the whole country saw Atul Subhash case. Didn't Nikita Singhania and the whole family get bail?
No, these are two separate cases. These are two separate cases, madam. These are two separate cases. Let's not mix them.
They are separate cases.
These are separate cases.
But when it is a woman, see, But when it is a woman, are the courts like this? Never. I can tell you of crimes.
How have you? No, one second. How is gender important? How have you injected this angle of gender here?
Yes,
that question was asked by Ranveer Allahbadia. It was not asked by someone else. And if it would have been a female judge, it would have got the same response. It would have generated a similar controversy and outrage. What does gender have to do with this?
It would have never got.
Yes,
it would have never got this response if it would have been a woman. Mark my words.
ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है.
It would have never got this response if there was a woman instead of.
No. One second. Let me bring in Advocate Memon as well. Advocate Memon, is it fair? Is it fair to say that Ranveer Allahbadia is being targeted because he is a male? And had a female judge said the same thing, there would have been no such outrage.
Absolutely not, Swati. I believe Barkha is going berserk here. It has nothing to do with gender. What is condemnable will be condemned by and large, rightly so by even the Supreme Court. His act indeed is condemnable. The question here is whether it is an offense of obscenity or not. That will be tested, as I said. But the larger issue that we are all forgetting is that the way forward here from. Do we require a legislation to regulate or censor this kind of content online available? As has been rightly said by my co-panelists, that there are several other channels like ALT Balaji or online YouTubers or influencers who don't even think twice before shedding their clothes. So all this needs to be regularized. Of course, the bill has to be passed by the legislation, by the parliament. But as on today, within the definition of obscenity, in my view, whatever he uttered would be profanity, but not obscenity. That is his defense. That has to be tested by the court.
Pratap wants to come in. Aditya Pratap wants to come in. The regulators perhaps need to pay more attention. And in fact, the Supreme Court has put the ball in the centre's court in a different case altogether, seeking answers or rather clarification on who's going to monitor. Do we in that case need a censor board for social media as well?
Not at all. Remember, more than regulators, we need prosecutors. Punishment and deterrence is the need of the hour. How much will the government regulate? We have the Cinematograph Act, which provides for certification of movies and works of public cinema, etc. Today, there are billions of people, 1 billion people uploading 1 billion videos. Regulation will not work here. Only the long arm of the law, which is prosecution, will work. Secondly, we need more state involvement. Look at the scheme of Article 19.
Okay.
Article 19 says, you have freedom of expression, but the state can impose reasonable restrictions in interests of public order and morality. Now, we have the directive principles of state policy which say that the state shall endeavor to promote patriotism, scientific thinking, temper among the masses.
Okay.
Question is, when people like Ranveer Allahbadia, who have hogged the attention of crores, what do they use their platform for? They use their platform for spreading such.
Okay, I think the larger issue that Aditya Pratap is trying to highlight, and Barkha, I want to bring you in. Again, that issue of popularity, of the kind of influence and hold and the number of followers that he has comes into picture. Barkha Trian.
Regulation I mentioned last time also. But tell me, there are lakhs of people who are making this content. Were you sleeping till now? Were you waiting for Ranveer to do something like that? Was Ranveer the first and the last person? There are lakhs of people doing.
It does not mean it is acceptable.
And why were you sleeping?
Barkha, that's the whole point. Does not mean, even if lakhs of people are doing it, it does not mean it's acceptable.
What was
and that it should go unnoticed.
No, it is not acceptable. No, it should not go unnoticed. But was the government sleeping? There are so many contents from so many years, similar content.
But if
sleeping,
okay, one second, then the whole argument of curbing free speech comes into picture. Before I go across to Advocate Memon, I want to bring in Sanjana Galrani very quickly.
Yes,
go ahead.
Exactly.
You cannot match your freedom of speech with this particular conversation. See, somebody like me, I'm a very liberal person. I'm okay with skimpy clothes. I'm okay with vulgar jokes. I'm okay with you play a song, BD Jalaile Jigar Se Piya, you'll hear it and forget about it because you don't take it personally. But here, what has happened is he's spoken about the life of the intimacy of parents, and that's what has hit us because we are from the land of Ramayana and Mahabharata. We cannot talk about the intimate life of our parents on air and talk about a son or daughter being apart, doing a threesome over there. This is disgusting. This is crossed over boundaries. Don't compare it to a
No,
freedom
but
of...
then that's what I want to understand. Where do you draw the line? Because I don't remember, just like Sanjana Galrani said, she has no problem with a song like Bidi Jalaile, or she has no issues with vulgar jokes. So maybe someone else has a problem with that song. Maybe someone else has a problem with the manner in which they are dressing up, or the kind of language that is being used, the kind of songs that are being filmed and portrayed. So where do you draw that line? Who's going to decide that?
Yes, Swati, so this is very subjective, rather the legislative principle should be objective rather than subjective. What some people may like would be disliked by others, what some people may dislike would be liked by others. So we cannot rule and regulate the people, their likings or their dislike. The freedom of expression is not absolute and it has to be controlled by the government through legislation, but that legislation in itself should not throttle the freedom of expression per se. So fine line has to be drawn by the legislators themselves, who has to take care of this situation which is prevalent. Of course, there has to be some reasonable restriction.
Okay, reasonable restrictions have to be there. I want to bring in Aditya Pratap once again. Once again, Aditya Pratap, I want to bring you into the debate now. What the court has said are observations, but like Advocate Beman has been pointing out, whether this falls in the bracket of obscenity or not will have to be tested. And that will happen during the hearing. That will happen through the investigation, which is currently underway. The court has wrapped him up and said the language is unacceptable. But like Barkat Ryan and others are saying, yes, he said what he said and it is condemnable. We don't back him, we don't support him, but he's apologized. So what do we do now? What next?
See, first and foremost, remember, a crime is an offense against the state. The state will prosecute him. Secondly, this is obscenity open and shut. Prima facie. No disputed questions of fact here. Fact of the matter is, what he has said is something so sexually suggestive, it totally destroys the moral fabric of our society. And today, I would call upon the police to do a strictest possible investigation. Search his home, seize his phone, seize all the scripts, because there's high probability that it was a fully scripted event designed with a conducive and clapping audience, designed to get maximum viewership. In fact, the controversy also was part of the plan. And furthermore,
so
the law enforcement...
You're saying it was all planned. You're saying it was all planned. You know, the investigation perhaps will reveal that. The investigation perhaps will reveal that. But then there's the larger issue again. I want to go back to it, which is of morality, which is of whether this behavior is acceptable. Can the society accept this behavior and such language or not, Barkat Rehan?
See, the society doesn't, and that is why we are discussing. But the people who are watching Ranveer or some such shows, they accept it. That is, and they are great numbers, very great viewership. Secondly is where...
So you're saying he's catering to audience that wants to hear that type of thing?
You're not teaching sanskars.
Barka, is that what you're saying? Yes. That he's only catering to the audience and that the viewers are to be blamed?
Yes.
Are the viewers to be blamed?
No, not the viewers. The viewers want to see. The viewers want to see this content, and that is why there are lakhs of people who are making this content, not only Ranveer Allahbadia. And secondly, here, selective outrage will not bring change. Please, targeting one person will not bring
Okay, Sanjana Galrani, selective outrage. This is selective outrage, says Barkat Rehan. This will not bring any change. You're just targeting one individual. Also, Barkat Rehan says the fact that these videos are so popular, such shows are so popular, is because people are watching it and they are perhaps catering to such people. Aditya, one second, I'll come to you. Sanjana first.
Such shows at the first place should not be made. If you don't make it, then how will they build an audience and how will they entertain the audience and how will they tickle the wrong nerves of the audience? It should not be made at the first place. And if you don't start with cleaning the society with one person saying lakho log hain, then when will you clean the society? So because of that one big influencer, you're ready to destroy the life of 1,000 other micro and macro influencers who are teenagers who are getting influenced. If this step is not taken, now you think anybody will have the guts? Anyone wants
Okay, I have to wrap up very quickly, Aditya Pratap, and then Advocate Memon. I have to wrap up very quickly.
Well, it's very simple. Just because so many people are clapping at Ranveer Allahbadia shows is an indicative of the moral decline of the younger generation, where this generation should have been discussing intellectual subjects, discussing subjects which would have advanced society. Today they're clapping to cheap theatrics.
Advocate Memon.
Well, I would say there has to be self-restraint, and when you become a popular public figure, it comes with a greater responsibility. So these people should be mindful as to what they speak and what effect it will have, not only on their audience, but on the society at large. As I repeat again, that now it is time for the legislation to rise up to the occasion to frame guidelines or censorship to such OTT platforms where things are regulated to the extent that they don't bypass the freedom
so then the larger question is, will the content now be regulated on social media as well? Advocate Memon says that we have to practice self-restraint. Barkat Rehan says that just one individual is being targeted. This is selective outrage. Sanjana Galrani says this behavior is not acceptable. And Aditya Pratap says, as per law, action needs to be taken. Thank you very much, Sanjana Galrani, Barkat Rehan, Aditya Pratap and Advocate Memon for joining us on the broadcast. With that, we're slipping into a very short break.